Hello, everybody, and welcome to Total BS with me, Ronnie Barber, and Paul Stainton. What's up? What are you doing?
He's blowing a gale here, Ronnie. Blowing a gale and hammering it down. What's it like where you are in Ely?
Well, the gated community, we have a dome over us for bad weather.
A domo?
A dome over. Yeah, it's a domo. Yeah, it's a domo. A lovely guy, a domo.
What, like Florence? Yeah, you got a domo like Florence?
Yeah, so we got a dome. It's painted on the inside as well. It's all famous presenters are up there. We've got the big one of Wogan and Gloria Hunniford. It's lovely. It's just fantastic. Welcome. What a week for news, Paul, he said.
What a week for news.
What a week for news. Can we first of all talk about the big revelation today, which kind of got us all off the guard, didn't it?
Hello, Thomas.
Hello, Thomas. Did you know you're getting taken over again by the government? Did you know that? This is an interesting one, Paul, isn't it? Because we're going to buy back the train services that we gave to the companies.
Mm.
Now, you've got an interesting one as well. I didn't think about this, but we helped them. Didn't we give them sort of incentives and things, financial incentives?
Well, obviously, people like Richard Branson needed a financial incentive to take over some of our railways and make more money. So we gave them hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds in incentives. So now we're going to give them hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds again to buy them back, but we won't be claiming the incentives back.
Right. So everybody who's a shareholder in these companies, they won't go away empty-handed in this, will they? No, come on, Paul.
No, they're getting paid twice, Ronnie, effectively.
They have paid, they have kept these trainways going and everything. Although I did think...
Have they kept them going?
Well, we're managing. I mean, look at the way they've crammed people into these small carriages. Come on. You know, they've done things, people lying across the top, people in the little luggage racks as well. It's wonderful.
But no, I agree with you to a point. I think it's brilliant the way they bring the long trains into Cambridge and there isn't a platform long enough to get off at the back. That's brilliant.
I do love that as well. No, but I think the genius thing here is, Paul, the government's obviously been thinking about this for a while. Now they've probably put it into a think tank thingy and focus that we have to make what we'll call this new thingy. Well, shall we call it British Railways? It's a wee bit too much like British Rail. Okay, what do we usually do? I know. We'll put great in front of it. Great British Railways.
Well, they were gonna use world beating, but it's not quite worked, that phrase recently. So they've delved into the think tank, which I like to think is in the corner of the PM's office. There's a big tank where the big word think on it, and there's loads of bits of paper all scrumpled up where people have chucked ideas, and they just delve right in, pull one out. That'll do.
I like the idea of Boris pulling one out. It's quite a thing.
Well, there's a first time for everything. It doesn't normally pull out.
But I've got to say, I'm really excited because you and I are big Chris Grayling fans. We've talked before how unlucky that man has been. He's a great leader, Paul. We've said, haven't we? A man who should be put in charge of things. I've heard that he's going to be in charge of the new Great British Railways.
That is brilliant. Yeah. That'll be good news for people like Hyundai, Volkswagen, Ford. Because I'm sure you'll get them to come and put their trains on the tracks, even though they haven't got any trains.
No. Well, that's the other side as well. What are we going to paint the trains like? Are they all going to be like the same livery? You know, is it all going to be? You know, I don't know. What's the signage?
Well, on first thought, I thought it would be British Rail blue, but now I've realised what a numpty I am, because Boris is going to get his hands on this, and everything is going to be painted in the colours of the Union Jack so that we can look forward to cramming onto these trains, eating curled up sandwiches, even though the train's 3 hours late to get from Stevenage to Huntingdon. It'll have a British livery, and we'll be proud to be late and hungry and crammed in and attended to by a surly ticket officer who's telling us we should be thankful to be on a British train.
I am already feeling nostalgic. I'm hoping we'll go back to the old days. But it's just, well, thank you, government, for bringing that forward to it. And it's so out of the blue.
And don't forget, name changes often work. When you've got a crap service, let's paraphrase and call it rubbish railways, because that's what it was.
Yes,
so you change the name to Great British Railways, and immediately in your mind's eye it's better. Because I've looked back at some of the name changes down the years, Ronnie, and I'm not talking Opal Fruits to Starburst here. No,
a Marathon mutton Snickers.
That's it. Google at the start wasn't called Google, Ronnie.
What was it called?
Backrub.
Really?
This is true. I'm not making this up. Subway, formerly called Pete's Super Submarines.
What?
I wouldn't have caught on with it.
Oh, no.
No. And Nintendo used to be called Marafuku.
Marafuku?
Marafuku.
Oh, right. That's nice. Well, I would have certainly. It's a name you'd remember, wouldn't you? Marafuku.
Yeah, Marafuku too.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. What is happening to us? We've descended into this mire. We've been dragged down by the news.
It's the truth. Marafuku. That's what Nintendo was.
I've got some bad news I have to impart to you because.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I know you're a big fan of Eurovision. Okay. I know you lap up every year. We get the BBC interview. Betty Redondo would come on and tell us what we can look forward to. And
I miss Betty. She used to get dressed. The only person I know used to get really dressed up for radio.
No, no, I've always offered the interviews. No thanks. Duncan Lawrence, who was last year's winner, Paul. Right?
Was he?
He's from the Netherlands. He's tested positive for COVID. So he won't be able to do they always do the last year winner. Can't do it this year. So he's not going to be able to do it because he's going to have to isolate. And talking of isolate, Iceland as well have actually tested positive for COVID. So there's no chance they can win it. The
whole of Iceland have tested positive.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the whole island. Even the island itself. The geysers are it's all COVID. It's pound.
Geezer.
I'm just going to suggest maybe we could, Britain could maybe pull out now before we get embarrassed by nobody voting for us and just say, I can't smell a thing. My taste is gone. Oh, sorry, you'll have to go.
Yeah, because you know what's going to happen. We're just going to get embarrassed yet again. It'll be new point, all that malarkey, just because we wouldn't give them our vaccine.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
We've got another thing they won't like it.
Give us some vaccine, we'll give you 12 points.
Yes. Have 500 million doses of Pfizer. Oh, Pfizer, you are spoiling us, Ambassador.
These point.
So anyway, but I've been looking at some of they were going to make them very topical, the Eurovision thingies this year. Some of the songs have been upgraded. There was all kinds. You remember the Great Dana song? All kinds of variants has come into as well. Bucks Fizz has been updated as well for the government, not making your mind up. And government, for the backbenchers, government puppet on a string. Bit of satire, everybody, bit of satire. Yeah.
Congratulations. Well done.
You're the Prime Minister.
Listen, a lot of people gone to Portugal this week, haven't they? Katie Price and about 3,000 journalists. Did you not get a ticket? Did you not get asked?
No, I didn't get asked. I was hoping an OB would happen, something like that.
No, there's no tourists there, just journalists. There was 150 planes went packed full of journalists so that they could go and stand on a beach and they could be crossed to live by Hugh Edwards, who would say, and now the very latest from Portugal, here's Rita Chakrabarti. What's going on, Rita? Well, I can tell you, Hugh, there's not a lot going on here. Back to you. And there's hundreds of journalists doing that on every single channel. No room for the tourists on the planes. They were just packed full of journalists, which is interesting because there's no real people there. The journalists are actually ended up vox popping each other by mistake and interviewing each other.
I do love. I mean, because the worst job in the world, listeners, is to be asked to go and do vox pops, and it happens to all the young reporters. we pay them off mightily. We're just going, can you go and ask the public what they think? And the public are used to it now. They just, I don't want to talk. Are you serious? And they're forced to talk, and it's always the same, and it has to be completely balanced.
So it's the worst. It's the worst type of journalism in the world. There's no point to it because you're sending somebody out to say, "Can you get 3 replies that are positive and 3 replies that are negative, and just edit them together?" So actually, you're not influencing the opinion of the listener at all because you're keeping it completely 100% balanced. We're not really getting the theme of what's happening on the streets. Yeah, brilliant, excellent.
Because I've seen the list of the rules. If you want to go to Portugal, and this is not made up. If you want to go to the beach, the towels have to be 1.5 meters apart.
Oh dear.
Right? And you have to be 3 meters apart from everybody else. So your towel's 1.5. Then from everybody else, you have to be 3 meters apart.
I've taken a tape measure on holiday before, but not for that purpose.
You have to wear a mask. This is true. You have to wear a mask except when you're lying down or in the water. All right, you don't have to wear a mask.
It's just incredible. I've never been a fan of Portugal either. It's the one place in Europe that I've been to that I didn't like. I went to Lisbon once for the Euro draw when I worked for BBC Telly, and just stood on top of a roof somewhere. Howling winds and rain coming in sideways, and you've got an earpiece in your ear and something. Right now, I'm passing you on to BBC World. Can you say the same thing again, a bit quicker? Yes, and that's what you do all day long. But the food there as well is abysmal. I ordered a steak once, and they brought a fried egg on top. And then I was in this restaurant, and these people in monks' outfits came in and started doing what they were calling melancholy singing.
Melancholy singing? Is that Eurovision?
No. She lived next door, but no. It was like this sad sort of, and you're trying to eat, and there's a bloke in a cassock and a monk's outfit. What's all that about? It's just weird. So, I would put Portugal on my particular red list. I'd put it on there, and Turkey as well after an incident with a ticket tout once. Turkey and Portugal are on actually my red list. So.
I'd probably put Malta on mine because my swimming pool was full of diesel.
Diesel?
Yeah. They were pumping the water straight out of the Med into the swimming pool, and it was diesel that was in the thingy. So But what a great sheen. My skin was.
Yeah.
We got but the other thing as well, Paul, is there are going to be beaches full sign. That's beaches. If a beach is full, you're not going to be allowed onto it. And if you try to get onto it, there'll be €100 fine.
Wow.
There's going to be beach detection. So if anybody tries to get onto a full beach, you are done for. You are locked up. €100, bang them up, get them away, take their budgie smugglers with them. You're gone. Get out.
What do you mean? What do you mean beach detection? Surely most people can recognize a beach from the sand, can't they?
Yeah. No. It's not that. I take your point.
No.
No, it's the number of people that are on the sand.
All right.
That's an interesting little semantic thing in there. Where's the beach? Look for a beach detection. Oh, look. The sand that way. The sun. Hey, listen.
Yes.
Robert Peston last night, of course. We like a bit of Peston. We're big fans. Now, Paul, I've heard you doing introductions to your shows, and they're magnificent. What's coming up? I want you to listen to this, the masterclass of Peston. He's introducing his show last night, and it's just a masterclass. Have a listen, everybody.
I don't know about you, but I'm confused. The Prime Minister told us that it's no longer against the law to go abroad on holiday, and yet he doesn't want us to go abroad on holiday. He says the spread of the Indian variant may well prevent the final unlocking scheduled for the 21st of June, which makes all of us, especially me, very nervous, and yet he won't accept he made a serious mistake in not putting India on the travel red list for 2 weeks after Bangladesh and Pakistan, even though the pandemic in India was worse than in a few countries. And he allowed us on Monday to start socialising indoors again, at home and in restaurants and pubs. And yet he says that if we don't do so judiciously and cautiously, there's a risk he'll once again take away our precious freedoms. Despite the great success of the vaccine programme, the India variant has put the great unlocking in jeopardy. This isn't just one of those things. It was a government cock-up. It's almost as though Boris Johnson feared his promised public inquiry into COVID didn't already have quite enough to examine. What do you think, Anushka?
Was that the end of the show? Was that the end, right?
No,
the beginning and the end. Oh, right.
No, Iran, you said they rolled the credits at the end. That was the opening. And
that was enormous. There was no punctuation either. No full stops, no commas, nothing.
It's just like they've dragged him and said, Robert, you've got to do your show. Oh, they have to. Come on, just do it. We've written the opening, everything. You even get to say cock up. All right. You even get to that whole thing. And it was just like, I thought, magnificent. And, you know, just give me my 350K a year ITV and I'll just turn up and do it. But it is, I mean, he was confused.
Watcher, I don't know about you, but I'm confused.
Things there, Paul. Watcher, common term for everybody, you know, the working man.
Yeah.
Tick. And another one, I'm confused.com. All right.
Isn't he paid not to be confused and explain it all to us, the general public?
I'm glad you picked up on that. I thought that was the deal with you know, these kind of shows. All right, you are confused, but yeah.
Watcher, I don't know about you, but I'm confused.
I'm confused.
Yeah, you paid Robert to not be confused. Now listen, it is an interesting thing, isn't it? Which hand do you stir your tea with, Ronnie?
I'm right-handed, so I would definitely go right-handed.
I use a spoon.
Oh, into that one.
Yeah, well, listen, some people use worse things than spoons to stir their tea, Ronnie.
Qu'est-ce que c'est pourquoi?
It's a bit continental. A police officer is about to lose his job, perhaps, after he told a female PCSO he stirred her tea with his what?
Truncheon? But
Close.
Taser. He put his taser in because he could heat it up as well. No?
Penis.
Well, I don't know. It was a good answer. He used his...
He told her he stirred her tea with his penis. PC Stephen Green claimed he was having a bit of a laugh and that he'd misjudged his friendship with the victim, but was found guilty of 9 charges in front of a disciplinary panel. It's interesting.
Disciplinary panel?
Yeah, they bent him over and whacked him with it.
Disciplinary paddle, that's a new thing. Is that the...
Yeah, they paddle people in. If you get found guilty of any misdemeanor in the police offices these days, you get paddled.
That's true. I love that. That's short, sharp justice for me.
Straight in.
Yes, I love it.
Yellow paddle.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting that he thought he misjudged his friendship. Because I've been friends with quite a few women in my time, and close friends, I've never thought of sticking my dick in their tea.
No, there's been a couple of bosses though that no, that's wrong. That's wrong, and don't whatever. What I'm interested in is she wasn't much of a copper because she should have just questioned and said, "Hang on, was it hot tea?" Can then you go, oh, got me. No, I'm only joking.
Yeah, I was only joking. Which hand do you wipe your bum with?
I use toilet paper.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, not going to fall for it twice. No.
Talking of criminal things, I've got to talk to you about Gordon Ramsay again, my friend. Gordon Ramsay.
What's he done?
Well, he rears his ugly. Well, he's not ugly because he's had stuff done allegedly to his face. Especially, he had a crinkly chin.
He's had what they call boulder infills. You know, little truckers turned up and tipped in the boulders because them cracks and crevices in his face were huge.
How does the boulder? Is it boulder implants or what?
Boulder implants? Yeah, they just tip them in to the deep lying crevices in his face.
Okay, because you know he's a cook. You know that, don't you? Gordon Ramsay.
I've heard it. Yeah, I've heard it.
He doesn't just swear. He's a cook as well. He's dividing his fans with a recipe of toast and bacon jam. Toast and
what?
Yeah, it's bacon jam that contains coffee. No, I think, if you're going to experiment, there's only one man for me. It's the old Blumenthal. That boys,
yeah.
You don't mess with it. But Ramsay's trying to get into that one as well. So he's come up with this thing. He says that, ready to change your toast game this week. My bacon jam toast recipe will do the trick.
Bacon jam. Can you come up with something like sausage marmalade or something like that? I'd go for a bit of sausage marmalade, but bacon jam, acid. That's an acid attack waiting to happen.
You want to know how to make it?
Not really, but carry on.
The Hell's Kitchen chef, he used to be, he said, started by slicing some sourdough bread. I don't think you get that in Stanford, do you? It's a posh.
No, I'll have to nip to Grantham.
And adding a slab of butter into the pan. And then he goes on to steep the bread in the butter in the frying pan, separately fries the bacon and shallots. All right?
Shallots? Yeah, in jam?
Yeah. But the man's genius.
Yeah.
He caramelizes the shallots. Well, I've done that, to be fair. I've done that. I've put Raljecks in my bollocks once, and it was the nightmare.
Too close to the fire.
Yes. Gordon then caramelizes the studio.
I've got an image of your balls on fire now in front of that roaring fire. That's what I've got. With caramelized jam on your nethers. Your Everglades.
And then dip in a tea. Caramelizes the shallots and bacon with heapfuls of brown sugar, maple syrup, and coffee. He simmers it all together, then spreads the bacon jam on the toast along with soft scrambled eggs, chives, and salt.
Oh, it's just awful. It's just an awful. It'll never catch on. It's terrible. That's not going to be in Sainsbury's next week, is it? Minging.
I just love the adventurism of these people. Shallots, and caramelizing your shallots. It's a big step forward for me. I didn't do that in Ayrshire. I'm so glad I'm in England now.
Yeah, it's a good job you recovered. But it's amazing what talc will do, isn't it? But talking of people on telly, Ronnie, which is a good link, obviously. We're trained in linkage, aren't we, on the radio? And I think I've done it well there. Nick Knowles, he's had a tough week, hasn't he? Because he's been on telly recently, not with his DIY SOS, but he's been doing the Shreddies ad, hasn't he? And BBC bosses are not very happy because it's a bit too close. The ad is a bit too close to the DIY SOS thing because he wears a hard hat and he comes in as a builder, doesn't he? So the BBC's unhappy, Ronnie.
All right. Does he build things at a Shreddies then? Does he?
Well, no, he encourages children to go downstairs quickly to eat their Shreddies he built a chute and stuff, but he's got his hard hat on and he's got his belt. So I think the BBC are trying to say he's making the most of his career with the BBC to earn money in advertising. Because we've touched on this before. BBC people don't earn money outside the BBC normally, do they, from advertising?
Unless, of course, you are known for news and you get involved in Zoom meetings.
Yes.
Because you are in news, you're a public figure. So what's your feeling about this? I mean, is it fair to Nick? And we like Nick. He's a great singer, as you know. His album was magnificent. Is it fair to him that he can't get involved in the Shreddies? Is that the issue here?
Well, Nick and the BBC are talking because the BBC have said it's us or the Shreddies, mate. So the BBC are actively encouraging him to get rid of his Shreddies. So you have to watch this space. But it got me thinking about, because other BBC stars do adverts, don't they? Gary Lineker's been doing Walker's Crisp for bloody years, for God's sake.
It's not associated to football. Does he ever use football with
Yes he has.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there are many other examples, but it did get me thinking about the golden age of celebrities and adverts, Ronnie. Because I grew up in an age when Clement Freud was on the telly doing minced morsels. Do you remember that?
Yes. What was the name of his dog? It was Henry.
Dog. He had a peculiar voice and delivery, old Clement Freud, didn't he? But he did mince morsels. You had Kevin Keegan doing Brute. Do you remember?
Oh, over. Yeah, and he was in the changing room as well.
Yeah, and then there was you going up that hill with that bike.
That was a great memory for me. That took 3 weeks because I used to get tired. Because that was a big hill. Oh,
did you get a loaf of bread every time you got to the top?
That was it. they would say, "Can we cut it again? Can we do it again?" All right, I'll go down the bottom. That's why it took 3 weeks. But
well, this might interest you now, because talking of big name celebrities required for advertising, you might be interested in this. British Lamb, Ronnie. That's British Lamb, are looking for a big name celebrity to front their campaign to take on the might of New Zealand Lamb. They're the big boys in the lamb game. So are you interested in this?
Oh, yeah. But right, I like lamb.
Well, apparently British Lamb have contacted a number of 80s pop stars. Sadly, most were reluctant, though, to have their face on a rack of lamb. Don't know why. Are you any worries on that front?
No, I'm fine with a rack. I love a rack.
You don't mind your face on a rack?
No, I've been there.
Anyway, eventually, they thought they sorted it when they contacted the 80s pop group, the Flying Pickets. Do you remember them, Ron?
Oh, what was it?
Ba-da-da-dum, 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 ba-da-da-dum. Anyway, the disparate a cappella artists of the early 80s, they were big in the game then. These days, they're not into singing, Ron. They are into their sheep. So, British Lamb, the Flying Pickets,
yes.
Sheep farming, they all live together, apparently, in absolute harmony on a small holding in Cleckheaton these days. That's what they do for a living. So British Lamb thought they'd sorted it. Flying Pickets, well known, they rear sheep, perfect for the British Lamb campaign, Ron.
Brilliant idea. I love that. Fantastic.
Sadly not, though.
Why?
Because the Flying Pickets on their sheep farm, they rear sheep under strict rules enforced by the one who looks a bit like Elvis. You know, the guy that was in Coronation Street for a bit, the Sabbath. Yeah. The Flying Pickets don't do lamb, Ron. They don't touch it. They don't do lamb.
Is that right?
Yeah, they don't touch rams, only ewes. Looking from a window above. Ah, dear. Took a while this week. That took a while.
Yeah, I love the fact that it probably took you 3 or 4 days to get to that point.
It did take me about 2 hours to write that.
I can imagine, and I can tell you, well worthwhile. Bad news for you, by the way, as well, Paul.
What's that?
Well, the news is that Magic Mike, in the Magic Mike shows, where blokes, and I know you used to be a male stripper yourself,
in a go-go bar.
In the go-go bar. Well, because of social distancing, crowds at the stage shows are going to have to be further back. I not.
So only the big boys are going to work on this.
Yeah, so they're going to have to be further back. But I hear, and this is also true, that you will be supplied binoculars. So that if you go to one of these shows, you will get help in viewing. So that's good. And because I always think social distancing gets a bad name, but people are actually saying, no, let's get around this. Let's be.
Yeah.
So
talking of venues and social distancing, did you see the big council meetings this week, Ron?
Oh yes, I saw the one at Duxford. Right.
So Cambridgeshire County Council had to go sit, and I've been to Duxford. It's a great place and a great museum. I did a radio show there once, and the council had to go in and sit, 2 meters apart. Many people remarked on this. It just looked like a big rubbish orchestra with no instruments.
I was waiting for Dr. Nick to come in and do a wee bit of 3 tenor stuff.
Yeah. So they had theirs. They had theirs at Duxford. And Lucian the singer is the captain now, of course. So it's good that they had it at Duxford, because the Conservatives have been reduced to trolley dollies. She's the captain preparing for takeoff. So the analogies were all there, Ron. It's easy.
Nice. Easy.
Yeah, and then Peterborough City Council had their meeting. They couldn't fit them all in the town hall, so they went to the East of England Showground. But it got me thinking, because obviously they do Speedway at the East of England Showground. In future, rather than having votes, just get all the councillors on the Speedway bikes and have a ride-off to see who runs the council. Wouldn't that be better?
Brilliant. I've said this for a while. You forget about the politics. Let's just put them head-to-head, physicality, let's because I mean, have you got any ideas on how we can enlarge in this theme?
Well, somebody else suggested that because it's at the East of England Showground, we could determine who runs the city by having a sort of best in show competition. So you get the councillors to parade up and down on a leash, and you'd look at their fetlocks, and you'd have a look at you'd have a look at their posture.
Yes, yeah.
And then go around the body and just have a look and see how they present themselves. And then once you've had that close examination of the councillors' fetlocks, you determine a winner and give a rosette.
I love that. Imagine sticking a rosette on Lewis Herbert. Imagine that. That'd be lovely. Or who else could we? Wayne Fitzgerald, would he take a rosette, do you reckon?
Well, I think he'd take a rosette, and quite a lot of people would like to give him a rosette. But I think it's better for him than the Speedway bikes, because he wouldn't reach the pedals.
No, he would have to be, because I think he's shorter than me, curiously enough. But
let's not get carried away there, but, it's a possibility, yes.
I do like the idea of that, and it's politics. You've taken politics into the common area, and it's entertainment as well, isn't it?
Makes it accessible to your everyday common man and woman. Let's not forget the women, and making it accessible. And I think then you could even take it a step further with the Speedway bikes and get people laid on the track and jump over them, things like that. Evel Knievel it a bit.
All right, so maybe what about bringing in some of our politicians as well, the MPs, and maybe they could do something. They could be like masterclass it. What about the Wall of Death or something like that? These kind of things where
Paul Bristow on the Wall of Death. People have paid money to see it.
To see. I'm trying to think of politically balancing that. Have we got? Daniel Zeichner as well. He could, just to make sure that nobody thinks we're being political in that way.
Oh no. We'll get a few Lib Dems up there to and ah, scratch their chins, and not be on either side of the Wall of Death.
Well, they probably complain about the fact we're using fuel for the bikes.
Oh, that's right. Well, maybe we'll get them to push the bikes then, because that's. And the Greens can plant some plants around the outside of the Wall of Death.
They could maybe do some quiche for afterwards. Maybe do a quiche and a salad. That would be Julie Howes.
Julie Howes listening. You're not winning any friends here, are you? Hey, she could plant a tree in the middle while it's going round. That'll be their trick.
Or maybe even it could be things that, there could be a lake. They could go and find things in there.
Or do some welly throwing.
Yeah, that'd be lovely. Well, that's we're more or less done here.
Are we?
Yeah, I've got all my topics out of the way as much as I can. We're available to be contacted. Paul at psmedia.org.uk.
Yeah, please do. Please contact, because nobody rings me anymore. Nobody rings. Nobody from the BBC's rung me in 4 years. So please give me a call.
What is it, by the way, were you putting your old shows up on the way? Now, you say it from a listener. Is it just your private collection of radio shows you're putting up there? You just no listener involved. You've just gone. I
listen to myself every day from 2016 onwards. Oh. No, seriously, a listener sent me 5 or 6 old shows. Sent me the original. It's Only Flipping Friday. They sent me a clip of Eileen doing It's raining. So I just thought I'd share them with everybody and let them listen to how we used to roll on the radio before it came a bit beige and turgid.
I don't have any of my old previous shows. I think the Radio Archive people have kept them.
Have they? Deleted them.
Yeah.
I've got to go, mate. I have a little share checker thing, and it's telling me I need to go and buy some shares in Marafuku